And a lot of people will tell you before they found the love of their lives, their soulmate, their husband, their wives, that yeah, it was kind of tough. It's tough to date in the 21st century. It's tough to find someone who has good intentions for you, who's aligned with your values. That's what we're going to be talking about today. How do you make being single really a wholesome journey, rather than, you know, your pastor told you in 2017 your husband will come, he didn't come. So now you don't go to church anymore. You're just upset with the pastor, all right? Or that guy who you went out on a date with and never called you back. So now you're upset because the guy never called you back. Being single is not supposed to be like heartbreak and hard and horrible. It's supposed to be a time when you're supposed to be building yourself and feeling good about your life. Not this burden that is become, I think it's the internet that did it, right? So that's what we'll be talking about today with a relationship expert. Before we do that, my favorite segment here is love. A little bit of perspective is needed when you've been single for a while. Take a look. All right, there you have it, everyone. I hope you're feeling encouraged and your mind is set right for this convo. Really excited this morning. I'm joined by a relationship expert. She calls herself a marriage enthusiast. Her name is Nzilani Mulati, and she's a fan of the show. Hi, Han.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, I'm so delighted to meet you.
And I'm glad you're wearing
the fan.
Yes, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Nzilani, tell me a little bit about your background. When did you fall in love with love?
Okay. So it's quite interesting because for me, I'm actually a computer scientist by profession. So this it's very different. But all the same, my journey started when I was growing up. My parents split up when I was very young. I was actually in nursery school. So growing up was very difficult. I remember half my life, I was raised by my dad. Yeah, so from nursery school all the way to class 8. Then from 1 to campus, I was raised by my mom. So you can imagine how challenging it was. And I never quite saw relationships working or marriages working. My parents, their relationship was interesting.
Tumultuous, yeah, I'm sure. And with conflict?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my relatives, so that's where my journey started, because I was like, there must be a different approach. There must be something different. And the Bible actually says God created marriage, and literally everything God created was beautiful and good. But now this marriage thing, it's not what we see. So that's where my journey started from, and I was very curious. I wanted to know, and deep within, I had that need of having a good relationship, of course, with a man that will later on lead to marriage. So that's how I started my journey, and I just got to a place where I was very intentional to see marriages at work. So in our church, where I go to church, they have different Bible studies. So I tell them, pair me up with people who are married, and they have good marriages. So that's when I started seeing, you know what, this thing actually works.
Yes.
Like the men were so good. I'm like, are you pretending? No, they were not pretending.
Right.
Like, they were so awesome.
And I guess that's the point. Like, I think it's been drummed into our minds that every man cheats.
Yeah.
You know, that men are out here doing this stereotype is out there. It's been perpetrated globally throughout even our childhood, growing up, you know. Talk to me a little bit about how you were when you were waiting for your husband. What's your husband's name, honey?
He's called Eric.
Eric
Mulati, yes.
Let's say hi to Eric Mundazzi.
Hi, Eric. Hi, sweet. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Tell me a little bit about the kind of person that you were when you were waiting for Eric.
Knowing my journey, well, when growing up, I was quite broken on the inside, yeah? And somehow I felt like, when I get hooked up to a good man, that will fix my brokenness. And so when I started, actually I was quite a late bloomer. I started dating when I was in second year in campus. And I think I discovered, oh my God, they are men. Then I just started dating. So at that point, I was actually a serial dater.
Okay, were you saved?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
So I date someone, then work out. Then the next month or in like 2 weeks, I have someone else. I'm like, hey, men don't cry over heartbreaks, then why should I be the one crying? So that's what I did, and I realized I was really broken. And through that journey, I actually learned that for me to get the one, I have to be the one. Like, I'm attracting a reflection of myself. So, yeah, so that's what happened. So I was like, oh my God, I'm attracting all these losers. Guess who is the loser? I am the loser. Yeah. So that's how I just started on a journey of self-discovery and understanding my worth and knowing, you know what, I'm here for a purpose, I'm here for a mission, and my identity is bigger than me being hooked up to someone else. Okay. And at that time when I was hooked up, I'd be very insecure, like all the time. I'm like, where are you? You know, I want to hang out. And so I really had to do a lot of work on myself, just engaging more with God, engaging more in spaces of adding value to people's lives so that I'm not always thinking about a man. And so, yeah, so at the point where I met Eric, actually I felt I had really grown. Yeah. And I knew my worth, I knew the value I was adding to his life. And I was okay being single and not having him define who I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like you're right, and a lot of people after the fact, after you meet Eric, then you look back and you see, oh my gosh, why was I worried? Why did I have to go through that? Talk to me about this day and age. You can actually agree with some of the things that I said earlier. There are so many women who are feeling desperate. There are so many people who don't feel whole because they feel that they haven't found the one. There are many people who are upset with their pastor right now because Pastor alisema 2017 is my year, and then December 31st, you are alone. Talk to me a little bit about that pressure. Where does it come from?
Okay, I think the first thing is, first I understand that pressure because I've also been there.
Yeah.
And ladies, we are built to be relational. And I'll just take it back to the fall. Yes. In Genesis, where after the fall, God actually said, you know what, your desire will be for your man. Yeah. And so that's where it all stems from. So the antidote is just understanding yourself and finding your identity in God and in Christ. Yeah. And so I really understand, and I feel there's so much pressure. And just because you're a lady, like at a certain age, you need to be hooked up. Then there's the internet. Then, there's all these things like we were talking about earlier, like Valentine's Day. You see there are couples all over. So the pressure is real. And also with the rise of now the career woman, we are spending a lot of time building our careers. Right. So you find juggling up the two also becomes quite difficult. So the pressure is real. And then I feel we also live in quite a plastic world where we portray relationships and marriage as being the it. Like you look at someone's profile on social media, you're like, what am I not doing with my life?
Right, exactly. Or the photos or this. And then we try to compare a lot of our lives to that. We're going to delve a little bit more into, the solution for this, how to take the pressure off, how to learn to love yourself. But how do you start to identify that you're going crazy? Because there's I'll tell you what, I had a conversation with some of my guy friends recently. And they told me you can smell a desperate woman a mile away, and the man will run in the opposite direction. A woman can see a controlling man who is in love on date 2, wants to marry you by date 3. We can sense these things. God has put these alarms in our bodies to be able to sense when something is off. Talk to me a little bit about how do you even begin to sort of just say, okay, let me down all these tools and just go raw and start from scratch? How do you do that?
I feel, first of all, understanding yourself, yeah? And I know most times, like, when first you have the pressure, you see a guy, the first thing is you're looking at the ring. Like, you're looking at the wedding, is he married? Yeah. And all that, and
then the shoes, and then the belt, and then the car keys. It's so ridiculous.
I know, as in it's so ridiculous. Right. And sometimes, whether you actually pressured, you have your own internal pressure, because probably you have set expectations for yourself. Like I know, like most ladies, the 30 is a big deal. So when you get to that age, you're like I'm not married. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? And probably there's just nothing you're doing wrong. I mean, it's just a matter of timing.
Absolutely, I believe, and I believe in perfect timing as well.
Precisely.
I believe in perfect timing as well.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, we're gonna take a little quick break, okay? And of course, talk a little bit more with the issues to do with how to relieve that pressure, give you a couple of solutions, make you smile. Love is supposed to feel good. Finding the right person is supposed to feel good. It's not supposed to be this crazy thing, okay? So Nzilani is here. She's gonna stay with us for a little bit. We'll be right back after this, everybody. All right, everybody, we are back talking issues of love, targeting the singles, okay? Men and women, of course. Everybody wants love. Everybody needs love. I think God made us that way. I recently went, I'll tell you a little story before we go on. I recently went for a talk. I was invited for a talk on Women's Day, and somebody, you know, in the Q&A, somebody put up their hand and they said, oh, you know what, Kobi, you wear singlehood so well. I was so surprised by that question because she wanted to know about, like, you know, what do I do? And I'm like, yes, of course. And it took me a while. It's self-love. It really is about self-love, loving yourself so much that when whoever shows up or anything shows up in your life, it just attracts the right kind of positive vibe. That's how I live my life, and I hope you do as well. This morning we're joined by Nzilani Mulati, who is a relationship expert, and she's got a beautiful story of her own. If you saw the first part of the show, we're talking about being single and happy and relieving the pressure and not being so desperate. And I feel that the pressure is a lot right now, don't you? Yes, I do. How are you doing right now? Are you good?
Yes.
You're doing really well. I'm really happy that we invited you.
Thank you. You're such a good host. You're really pleasant.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. You have a YouTube channel where you help people with some of these things. Talk to me about that, Nzilani.
Okay, so my YouTube channel is my name, Nzilani Mulati, and I actually came up with the channel because I felt we don't have a lot of positive content on marriage and relationships. And you know, the young people, most of us actually, millennials, research shows that they spend 6 hours on Facebook every single day. And so I actually saw a need to just provide positive content on YouTube, on Facebook. I also have a Facebook channel, and just to share out my story, like to say, you know what, probably you've not seen marriage or relationships being modeled well, but in my small way, I can just share my story and just encourage someone and give hope. Yes.
You've now been married to Eric for 3 years?
Actually 3.5.
Do you love it? Tell me about marriage.
I love it.
Yeah?
I really do. I love being married. It's an amazing institution. Yeah, and I just love that we are friends, and it's a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah, in fact, the mindset of getting into marriage is about service. Okay. Yeah, so my role as a wife is to serve my husband, and also his role is to serve me. So there's a certain kind of mindset that you need to have before you get married. It's not just about, you know what, I'm lonely, I now want to get married. No, it's bigger than that. It's purposeful. But it's amazing. Like, I totally love being married. And of course, I just learned the art of enjoying my singlehood. And so I don't miss being single, because when I was single at that point, I enjoyed it. And now that I'm in this season of being married, I absolutely enjoy it. And it's wonderful. I think the key thing that has worked for us is we have pretty much a similar mission in life. We have a heart to serve people, especially in families. And on top of that, like, God is our anchor. I mean, marriage, my friend, let me break it down for you. It's two imperfect people coming together to sort and sort, like, is it live a perfect life? Because there are all those expectations that you have from the other person. So God is the one who like ties you guys together. So that is so, so important. Yeah. So I absolutely love being married.
Knowing your worth is so important, especially as you find yourself. Why did you do that video?
I did that video because I felt most times we sell ourselves short, especially in the relationship space. Like when you have the pressure, the internal pressure or external pressure, you just end up settling with anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
your plan B, C, D, not your plan A.
Yeah. And I was like, I mean, that's not right, you know. And I was just talking with my friend yesterday, and she actually told me the fact that you're born means that you're a winner. Let me break it down for us. Now, when you're being conceived, there are like 500 million sperms chasing.
Exactly.
Yeah, after the offer.
Yes.
And the fact that you're actually born means you're a winner.
Yeah.
So that's your worth, like 1 in 500 million cases. So that's how we need to view ourselves and appreciate ourselves and not sell ourselves short. Yeah.
You know, I have this quote that I stick to. I've put it on my mirror. It says, the same God who decided to make mountains and rivers and lakes and this beautiful planet also thought that this world needed you. And it gives you that perspective of how important that you are. A lot of single people think that when they get finally hooked up, when they start to date, when they get a boyfriend or girlfriend, when they get a fiance, when they get a husband and wife, wamefika, it's now time to chill. When for a lot of people who've been married and a lot of counselors like yourself, they say that it's actually the beginning of the work. Talk to me about this.
Yes, actually it's the beginning of the work. As I said earlier, marriage is about service, yeah, and it's about a purpose and it's about a mission. So the way I look at it is, and it's about an investment. You're actually investing. So the way I look at it is, I know we are really big on career and business, especially as Kenyans, and we go that extra mile. Like you get your master's, your PhD, I mean, do the hours. But now when we come to the family setting or the marriage, we just want to chill.
Yeah.
And honestly, it doesn't work like that. We need to invest, like find out how can I have a happy marriage? How can I serve this person? How can I add value? Yeah, and like us guys, we did premarital counseling and we always find ways to enrich our marriage. We go for marriage seminars just to understand. We have so many mentors. We get to learn from them. So yes, it really is a lot of work. In fact, it's the beginning of like, I would say, quote unquote, a new set of work to be done. But the amazing thing is that somehow you have the grace to do it. Given my story and the drama I had when growing up, there are so many things I didn't know. You know, like I was raised by my dad. So the basics of the kitchen and all that and organizing the house, that was not my strength. And so when I got into marriage, you know, like my sister makes fun, like, if you can be married, you know, I have hope. Yeah. Like I was, you know, that was not my strength. But now, of course, through the years and being aware, I've been able to grow in that space, like try and learn how can I engage the kitchen more, how can I do recipes, how can I really serve my husband in that space. Okay. So it's work, but there's grace. Sometimes I get into the house and I find myself doing things, I'm so exhausted, and I wonder this is not me. Yeah. Like originally, this is not something I would have done, but the grace is there, but also the mindset to work towards your marriage, because that's the only institution that you engage in until you die, until death does you part. So everything else can change. It's like a tennis ball versus like an egg. Our careers are like tennis balls. They can bounce back. Our businesses, but when it comes to marriage and family, when you drop the egg, it's done. You
so fragile.
it's very fragile. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You're so brilliant.
Oh,
We're going to talk about your services in just a bit, but I think it's important that towards the end of the show we come to a solution-based place. There are so many people who are going to watch us who are going to say, but I have been doing this for a while. It has worked for me, but they'll find that something in that journey doesn't make them quite happy. Why is it important to find that thing that makes you really happy? Because this person, when they do finally show up, they're not going to make you happy. They're not going to make you whole. They're not going to come and fix that problem. It'll forever be there. How do you start to identify, hey, by the way, there's this hole that I have in me, and whoever this person is not going to come and fix it, men and women?
I love that question, like how do we practically bring it down? So the first thing, what I would recommend is we have different facets of life. We have, like, for me, I love using the wheel of life. It has 8 different facets of life, and ideally just learning how to balance them out. And the first thing about us is we are spiritual beings. So before we are even physical beings, we're spiritual. So the first thing is having that spiritual strength and just knowing, connecting with God first of all, because He's the one who fills your void, first and foremost. So connecting with Him, because like there's sometimes when I would say I'm also needy, sometimes at home, and I want my hubby to do these things for me, and he can't meet all my needs, you get. So the thing is, when I'm filled up spiritually, like I don't even sweat the small stuff, there's that, and then so there's the wheel of life, but let me just make it simple form. So there's family. Okay, we've already talked about the spiritual being. Then there's family. Other than you and your spouse, what is your engagement with your family?
Your in-laws, your sister-in-laws, your father-in-law, all that stuff. Right?
Your sister, your. So we also get a lot of sense of worth by interacting with our family members, our sisters, as you're saying, your mom, your dad, just being there available and engaging with them, engaging with your friends. So there's family, friendship, there's occupation. We also get a very good sense of worth from our occupation. What is it you love to do? Not just doing an occupation because it's there for the money, but doing something that will add value. Then recreation. What do you love to do?
Right.
Like for
Fun
me,
times.
I know, right? I love to dance.
Really?
I'm
gonna make you stand up and dance right now.
Good.
Okay.
I love dancing, So I need to put it in my schedule, Like this is Nzilani. Those are the things that make me tick. I love to dance. I engage. I go dancing. I love to fraternize with my friends. I have to do it. So I do a lot of coffee dates with my girlfriends.
So you take the time for yourself.
Precisely. So just continue doing those things that make you, that make you tick. And then of course the last one is money. But that one I've coupled it up with occupation. So just having a wholeness in those things. So you can just look at those 4 things at the very basic level, and I think I can share more on my YouTube channel. Okay. I have a video on the 8 facets. But just that. It's really simple. It's not really out there, and just doing the things that you love and engaging. And you're gonna find your person at your place of purpose, because when you get married, the switch doesn't go off. Now, when I was single, I used to do this, and then now I'm married, I don't do that anymore. No, there has to be a sense of continuity, and you have to have a sense of understanding, engagement, loving what you both like, having a common interest.
Okay. Amazing. High five it. You're so awesome.
Oh, thank you. You too.
I really love listening to you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, listen quickly. This woman is so amazing. We are going to connect you to Nzilani on our social media platforms. When we come right back, I share something that I am so obsessed with. It's called The Wait. And the wait is sexy, waiting for your mate. I'll explain it from my perspective in just a second, and we're going to share a little bit more with her. We'll be right back after this, everybody. We are back. We are at Hill Park Hotel, who have been gracious enough to host us this morning. We're here in Upper Hill, speaking matters love, relationships, being single, being married. Really, it's about being happy. I think that's what it is, right? I don't think that anyone seeks this thing out to be miserable. We're all looking to be happy in this life, right? I've wanted to share this, and I think I've shared it many times on this show, a book by Devon Franklin and Megan Good called The Weight. And it's really seeks to kind of demystify this thing called love and break it down, especially from a spiritual perspective. So good. We're going to share that with you guys in just a second. But for right now, I wanted to talk about and ask you a question about why it's important to wait for that ideal person who will help you get to your purpose. Talk to me about that, darling.
Okay. So actually, I think I can just give a little bit of my story.
Yeah, sure.
You've given me a background about the book.
Yes.
And it just reminded me of where I was when I was in that journey of waiting. And I remember that time, because of my brokenness, I had so many dude friends.
Yeah.
So when I'm single, but I wasn't really single. So when I'm lonely, I know who to call.
Yeah.
We go out and have a date. We go and giggle, and my emotional
your need is filled.
Are met,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm single, but I've just had coffee with this guy, and I'm excited, and I realized. So many single people, yes, they're saying they're single, but they're not single emotionally or spiritually. And I actually had to go through that journey whereby I had to cut off all the links with all these people who were convenient for me to talk to. I'm feeling bored, I just call them, we talk for an hour, and pretty much, quote unquote, we're not really doing anything wrong, but my needs are being, and a part of me is going away.
Yeah.
Is been going to those people. So I actually had to cut off, and there were so many guys, actually, there were like 10.
Wow.
I was just blocking them, and I actually said, you know what, God, here I am. Like, my heart is yours and my soul is yours. Let me just be me and you, so that when I meet my hubby, I can actually give him the whole of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Without having hang-ups and ghosts from your past and soul ties and all that. It's a mess, by the way.
It's a mess.
It's a super mess. All right, everybody, take a look at a little bit of a talk from the couple who've made the wait actually something worth waiting for. They give you a good perspective if you're single on why it's important to wait for the mate that God made for you. Watch you. And it's okay. Just keep waiting. I believe in perfect timing, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
It's so amazing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things I definitely have to say is that there are a lot of people who are watching us who are happy. They found the one. They're okay. Young couples, and according to a research study that I read recently, I think it was in the DN2, talks about marriages breaking apart, especially young marriages. Young people are divorcing at a rate that the older generation never saw this coming. And so we're trying to figure out what the problem could be. Talk to us about what this demographic of young people should do before they throw in the towel, before the big D word, before the divorce, before even getting married, maybe sometimes. Talk to us about that part of things before we wind up.
Okay. Actually, I think the younger guys, we are pretty much the microwave kind of generation. Like, we want instant results. And I think it's understandable based on how we've been socialized. But the thing is, that's not how life is, yeah? Life has seasons, it has different, life has seasons, and life is really, quite dynamic.
Yeah.
And good things take time, yeah? Good things take time. That includes marriage. And for me, I think I'll start it off from the foundation. Now, if you're dating or you're single, actually, when you're single, that's the best time to prepare for marriage, because you have an opportunity to set up a very good foundation for your relationship. Like, I look at this building. I mean, this building is amazing.
Beautiful.
It's so